So here we are, where the race is all ready to go. All we have to do is start it. I'm driving a Corvette, and we're going to go to race. I'm going to use my H shifter for this car, although it's... Uh-oh. The engine wasn't started. My wheels turned the wrong direction. I don't know why that would happen. Okay, the AI cars have a tendency to line up in this game, maybe in the other games too, I'm not sure. They don't break the long line as easily as real race car drivers would. They'd all crowd in there to try to get around that corner ahead of the other guy. Now, they wouldn't just stand in a long line waiting. But it's not too bad. So here they are lining up again. Well, that one snuck in there, which is nice. Should have downshifted there, but... So we're getting some mixing up here of the cars. Got my Trackir going. My mirror isn't adjusted very well. Whoa. Lost my hood or something there. I'll have to check to see what I got my AI set to. I'm not quite sure. They seem a little slow. I just was easily able to pass them there.
That was a 2:38.19.
I want to do a little going off the track here. See what that feels like. See what the grass feels like. And you can drive on this grass pretty good. That's good. It was a little got slippery there, but you can still drive on it at an acceptable speed like I see them doing in real racing. I don't want a game that has the grass set so slippery that when you go off on it, you have to go like 2 or 3 miles per hour to get your car under control. It's not realistic at all. Force feedback feels great in this game. I never even tweak it for individual cars. But I don't really drive this racing game that much. Problem now is it's got 4 different racing games I like to drive, and I only got so much time. But being that these are all pretty cheap, all around $60, I just have them all for the fun of it. Someone's knocking me. I must be slowing down too much. I guess the tire physics on all these are just really personal preference as to how you think they should be. I personally think these are a little, this game, a little less grippy than I would imagine real life would feel like. Cars, but for some people that makes it a lot more fun.
That was a 229.
Pretty sure this has the intermediate grip tires on it. You could go with soft tires. They wear out much quicker. Once you get used to the AI on these games, you can pretty much anticipate what they're going to do next. Occasionally, one of them breaks loose with a move that's unexpected, but see you there when the rear end broke loose because I accelerated fast. I think that was a little broke loose too soon, too easily. But I might be wrong. I've never driven one of these cars before. I think my tires are heated up, but I'm not quite sure how to change to check that out. As far as graphics go, this game is just fine. And what's good about it is it runs good on if you have a computer that isn't quite as powerful. Like if you have an intermediate computer, this game will still run on it good, and you can still have lots of fun with it. I think I got all the settings in this as high as they will go. And I have a 970 GTX GPU and a 8-core AMD CPU. Another great thing about R-Factor 2 is the number of AI you can run. You can see I'm running 40 right here. And if your track can handle it, if the track you're on has enough stalls or garages for the cars, okay, the race is already over. You can actually race as many as 100 if your computer can handle it. Mine won't quite handle 100 that well. It starts acting a little weird with that many, but I think I can do pretty much 70 or 80. So if you're ever on a racetrack where there was like the VLN at Nordschleife, I think that they might have 100 cars running there in real life, and you could do that if you had a computer that will do it with this game. And there is a modded track of that for this game. We'll just drive into the pits here so you can see that. The race is over now. The other way you know the race is over here is with that flag up in the left corner. The announcer didn't tell me nothing. So therefore, to get this one to open up all the way on my monitor setup, I have to use this extra app that I found. Otherwise, Assetto Corsa won't slide over. But a good thing about Assetto Corsa, it doesn't have the window mode bars around it. It opens up full screen, so that's a nice, really nice for my setup. On Assetto Corsa, you gotta reset the force feedback every time because it doesn't seem to memorize it unless I don't know how to make it work. and I like it about 70 on my G25. This dampening needs to be turned all the way off. I wish they would set that to default as 0. Because I don't really like the dampening. There we go, down to that. And I think that's all we have to do to set up menus for this little test. I'm driving a Nissan GTR here. And we're just going to go to race. This should be all set up for me. Got my Trackir going. Can't put this car in gear until it actually goes green. And the physics are pretty much like, GTR2. The tires have a little bit more grip, and for me, that feels a little bit more realistic to me. But that's just personal opinion. And you can see the AI are doing pretty good. The only thing in this game is you can only run, I can only run about 28 on my computer. And I got an 8-core CPU. It overloads the CPU if you run more than that. And you can also only run, at the moment, you can only run one class. The faster AI won't pass the lower class cars. They'll just ride behind them. And as you see, this modded track that was free add-on of Sebring is a very nice track, very nicely done. I'd say it's up to the quality of the other tracks that are in this game. I'm talking, so I'm not driving really fast enough here, but has a nice sound, just like R-Factor 2. I'd say they're pretty much equal. I do like the suspension sounds in this game are real nice, and also the way the tires squeal. I think both are adjustable. As to the loudness of the tire squeal is adjustable, both in R-Factor 2 and in this game. Which helps us to be able to tell what our tires are doing. We can also hear them as well as feel them. Gives you more of that seat of the pants experience that we need in racing. This game, Assetto Corsa, gets just a little bit slower FPS, frames per second, than R-Factor 2 has, so it's going to take just a little bit better hardware on your computer to run this game. And as I think I already mentioned it, you're only going to be able to do about 30 AIs. R-Factor 2, you can do a lot more than that. But these AI are running pretty good. Just like R-Factor 2, they tend to line up, I think, a little bit more than real race cars would do. But as we're going around this corner, you can see they're all bunched up, and someone just screwed up there, back there, an AI, which is realistic, gives a realistic feel to the game. We're in our last lap. As you see, we have flags up in the corner, just like R-Factor 2 has. There's either no announcer or I have them turned off. I think there's none. Nice 5.1 sound, or maybe it's even 5.2, I'm not sure. 7.1. Pretty fast for this guy ahead of me here, so gain an extra position. Uh-oh. Don't think I'm going to be able to pass him. We got one corner left. Yep, looks like the Nissan has a little bit more grunt than that. I think it's a McLaren. Not sure. Whew, come on, baby. Bring me down to the finish line. And there we go. Finished in 14th place. So this is a great little racing sim. Going into solo. Sonoma Raceway is good. And I got some GT4 cars going here. Let's see how many we got. 25. We'll raise this up to about 35. Go down to 3 laps. Get skill at 80, which I find is about right for me. I don't know. It seems to be about the right skill level for real race drivers. It just all depends how good our race drivers are. These are GT4 cars, so I think that's about right. You can change your conditions here. I got weather 5, real weather times 5, time progression 10. It's only 3 laps, so we're not going to see much change. So we're going to be surprised by what the weather is. And I think the tires will be changed automatically. I have everything else all set up as far as the force feedback and that kind of stuff. And the game memorizes it for me, which is something a little bit better than Assetto Corsas, which you got to set up every time. I think R-Factor 2 also memorizes your individual car's force feedback setup. So there's the picture. I'm going to turn my FPS, and you can see it's a little bit lower. I think I'm going to use my age shifter. You're going to see right away that the graphics are a lot better, but you pay the cost. My FPS is only well below 60. feedback's really good. I can't say if it's less realistic or more realistic than the other two. Got quite a bit of feel in it. You do have to adjust it to your individual wheel and individual car. I think I'm running last here. So I think you can get the AI are faster than Assetto Corsa. I had it at 100%. Bunching up there a little bit. I like having you have a look back button. In this game, you don't have that in Assetto Corsa. I think they have it in R Factor 2, though. Another thing I failed to mention in Assetto Corsa, if you go off into the grass, you're really cooked, because they got the grass setting way too slippery. In R Factor 2, it's more realistic. You can go off into the grass and still drive, although the grip level, of course, is falling down way low. The AI seemed a little slow around that corner back there. You see the car slid there, went into a slide, but I was able to recover it. And I like that in a racing game. To me, that's more realistic than going into a slide and this car, every time the car goes out of control. But I think all the racing games these days have cured that element in racing sims. If I push hard, I can catch these guys at 80%. But you got to push pretty hard. You'll notice we got a nice announcer in the background in this game, although he is somewhat redundant and somewhat as you expect. Being that he's just an AI, real person, but he operates by the AI, so sometimes his remarks are out of place. But I like having a voice that makes me feel like I'm not all alone when I'm not driving. Big difference, I think the biggest thing that Project Cars brings to sim racing is that it's also available on the consoles, both Xbox and PlayStation. And I think a lot of people in the sim racing actually don't like that. Don't like to admit that this is actually a sim because it's on consoles. is also playable on the consoles. So there's a quick little race. I guess I didn't do all that great, but that's short. Well, there I am. 27. Do replay. Physics-wise, the tire modeling again is, to me, is just as realistic as the others. It's different than the others, but I think that's all open to interpretation as how it should be to represent a real car, and I find it just as representative as a real car as the others. I'm kind of half and half as to which one I like best, Assetto Corsa or this one's tire modeling. I enjoy them both about equal. And then I like our Factor 2 also. It's just, I think it has a little less grip maybe than a real car might have. Is there anything else to mention? I think I've mentioned everything I want to mention about these games. If you like racing, you should have at least one of them. And if you got a little bit more extra money to spend and you like racing, I would have all three of them. And I do. One other thing I might mention is this game has it. Well, I guess our Factor 2 has weather and changing time of day. This also has that, and it works really well. I had this set on real weather, as you notice, and I guess this is what the weather conditions are out at where this racetrack is. I forgot what racetrack I'm on, but Sonoma, I think it is. So I hope this little video helps anybody that's trying to make their mind up on which one of these games to get. If it was a perfect world, they would all have the attributes that the other ones have, and then we would have the best sim combined with all three of them. As it is, there's not really any one best sim. That's just a big argument. Humans, we like to argue about which is best and what can you do. Okay, over and out.